Mr. Boltz, I had the pleasure of visiting the Yuma area last year, although unfortunately it was for the purpose of understanding the scope of this crisis. I want to discuss how the current failure to defend federal borderlands and secure the southern border is impacting you, and I want to focus on the impact it has on Yuma agriculture. I was incredibly fascinated to learn that between November and March, as much as 90% of our nation's leafy vegetables like lettuce are grown in Yuma. Mr. Boltz, you touch on this in your testimony, but I want to give you more time to discuss the burden individuals crossing through non-ports of entry has on agriculture in your community. What does this do for crop production? What I specifically would like to get to is, can crossings through your fields result in mandatory significant crop destruction?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Hageman, thank you for attending and visiting our area down in Yuma and for being here. I hope it's proved extraordinarily educational. Yeah, I think the most impactful thing is just the sheer numbers that Customs and Border Protection is trying to deal with, and then us as farmers that are operating those public and private lands in the proximity to the border. When folks enter into a field, if they're not properly trained, that pretty much ends the harvestability of that particular area. So at $5,000 to $6,000 an acre, that's roughly the size of a football field. We're talking about tens of thousands of acres that immediately border our international boundary. And that's just in that one part of our county where the traffic is heaviest. Again, I urge the federal government to work with the Kokopah tribe. And if they were to work with the Kokopah tribe and then get some additional wall, get some additional resources put there, and then if we were able to handle the asylum seekers differently, we would dramatically cut the number of people that Customs and Border Protection is having to interdict that are not crossing through ports of entry, and that would be extraordinary. And the unusual thing is that in our community, we are short of workers every day to do work in our fields. Right. And a good friend of mine recently approached Border Patrol about visiting some of the folks who are seeking asylum and who have entered our country without documentation that are being held temporarily. He approached them about asking them if they wanted to join the H-2A program. He addressed over 900 folks that had entered our country illegally awaiting transportation or appointments with courts, and he received 0 takers on his opportunity to go to work.
They're not here for jobs. They're not here for opportunity.
At least not in the areas where they're crossing, for sure.
Okay, I'm going to give a couple of metrics. I would love to have more time to address the ag issue. I grew up in Wyoming on a ranch. I've been farming, handling water issues pretty much my entire life. So I feel for both of you, but I want to give a few metrics on something that I think is very important for what we're discussing today, and that's specifically the environmental impact of the illegal crossing. For a NEPA environmental review process, it takes approximately 6.1 years. To obtain a 404 permit under the Clean Water Act, it takes 10 or more years and costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. Over $1.7 billion is spent each year by the private and public sectors obtaining wetlands permits and to be allowed to undertake even the slightest disturbance to a creek or waterway. I had a case several years ago. I'm a water attorney, and I had a lawsuit in Wyoming where one of my clients cleaned out an irrigation ditch, affected 2.1 acres of land on his own property. The EPA concluded that that was a navigable water of the United States, brought a lawsuit against him, and when we went to trial, he was facing penalties of almost $65 million for cleaning out an irrigation ditch on his own property. The irony is that none of the individuals or companies undertaking a NEPA analysis or a 404 permit would ever be allowed to cause the type of environmental degradation and destruction that the cartels and illegals are causing throughout our southern border, as shown in the photographs that we saw today. I think we have to acknowledge something, and that is that the Biden administration has gone to war with the American public. They have elevated the financial interests of the cartels above and against us. They are turning a blind eye to the environmental destruction that is being caused by the cartels and the illegals, and we are being punished for it. We not only have the economic impact, we not only have the impact on our farms and our ranches, our communities, our law enforcement officers, but our creeks, our waterways, our federal lands, our private lands are being destroyed by illegal immigration, and this administration is doing nothing about it. Again, I wish I had more time to discuss all of these issues with you, but it is something that we as Congress have got to address to make sure that we are not losing some of our most valuable resources because this administration refuses to secure our border. And with that, I yield back.